Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sumukasya Ekadantasya Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharasya Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketur Ganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvadaha Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Sativarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye Paradavakradhya Parishadhya Parasatam Vignam Vignanti Satatam Vishpakshenam Samasraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So with Swami's faith, let us continue from where we left off. Last session we came up to 15a, Slokam 15a or 16 in some books could be. Okay, it just said, when you look at an object, the same object looks differently to different minds. Any given thing, this you can verify it in your own personal experience. If you think of the classic example would be, you think of a person and some people like that person, some people don't, so many things happen and things change also. It's not a constant opinion, right? So the same object appears differently to different minds, and also as time difference it also evolves. Okay, so what the last sutra that we said, what it talked about is, Na cha ekachit tat tantram vastu tat apramanakam tada kim syat. So, what it basically says is that the object that we perceive, not only with our eyes, with all the five senses in the world, is not dependent upon one mind. In other words, my perception of the world, right? I perceive things one way, so all the things I perceive does not depend upon my perception, because other people also perceive it. So it doesn't depend upon just one mind. And because if my mind were not there, does the thing cease to be? It still seems it exists for others, isn't it? So the Rishi very beautifully, scientifically, people who are interested in science means immediately everybody thinks that's the truth. So people seem to be attracted to scientific proof. And so very scientifically and logically, the next few sutras, Rishi is going to teach us how the mind the object is independent of the mind, and what exactly happens, how does the mind perceive, the mind conscious, right? Does the mind have conscious of its own, right? And then he will now describe that it doesn't, something else is there that's constant, and then he will now differentiate to buddhi, and then how the buddhi takes you to Atma. The final last but one slokam, I believe, in second adhyana of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan teaches the same thing. And so very beautifully the Rishi is going to take us through that. Okay, let us go to number 16. Tat uparaga apekshitvatvate chittasya vastu jnata ajnatam. Have you got it? Okay. Tat uparaga apekshitvat chittasya vastu jnata ajnatam. Tat, that, uparaga. Raga means, is attached to, right? Raga means attachment. Something that you like, raga dvesham is a phrase that you have heard. So when you like something, what is the result? You also dislike it. Isn't it? Because everything is temporary. But Bhagavan shines through all this, and then he says, come to me, we get attracted, and then the same Bhagavan makes us dislike it too. What you like today, you may not like next minute. Isn't it? So, raga, dvesha, they always go together, right? And so, uparaga, upa means close to, proximity of, right? So, uparaga, so tat uparaga apekshitvat Now, apekshitvat means, see, it's very beautiful. The Rishi is using words that in my limited mind, I'm amazed how precisely he is going. That is why it is not, in the beginning I mentioned, it is not possible for anyone living, okay, to really explain Patanjali Yoga Sutra. It is not possible. It has to be experienced because it is so precisely. See, the apekshit means, one meaning of that is expectation. But when you look at something, or when you take a, let's look at the example of a thought. Let us say you want to make Bindu Krambu today. Okay, the thought comes. Immediately uparagam, you get attached to it. Am I right, am I not? Right, immediately it's instant. But then, and along with that attachment, there is an expectation. So that is how beautifully he has selected word. In our crude English, we say, as we get attached to the mind, tat, that mind, uparaga, as it gets closer to an object, thought or emotion or feeling, apekshitvat, how it perceives it. That's what we, in English we say perception, right? Immediately you imagine when they come in your mind, but that's not, it's an expectation actually, isn't it? So that's how precisely he's using it, right? So the perception, so chittasya vastu jnata ajnatam. So chittasya, in your mind, in your thought process, in your perception, vastu, the object, whatever that you have actually created, really speaking, right? Whether it's gross object or subtle or whatever, what happens to it? That is jnata ajnatam. To put it in a crude English, how the mind perceives something depends upon the mood of the mind, as we can say. Isn't it? To put it in a very crude English. Jnata ajnatam is a more precise way of explaining it. So, am I really aware of what I am perceiving? We are not. Our mind is wandering all over the place, isn't it? I'm not even able to focus on it for a second, right? So, jnata seldom comes. Immediately, it looks like a car, automobile to me, then my mind goes somewhere else. But ajnatam it becomes, right? So, it depends on the mood of the mind, is how the object that you perceive changes actually, isn't it? The classic example they give is the rope and the snake, right? And that's a classic example. So what is the truth there? Was it really a rope or was it a snake? Right? The mind thinks it's a rope, then it's a rope. The mind thinks it's a snake, then it's a snake. Isn't it? At that moment. So both are really ajnatam only. Isn't it? Both are really ignorant, depending on the mood of the mind. The real knowledge is it is neither a rope nor a snake. That is Parabrahman itself. That mind doesn't focus. You understand? So what you perceive, so precisely explains this. So what you perceive depends upon the object that you perceive, things that we perceive, whatever we create in the world, okay, morning to night and night to morning, all these things depends on the mood of the mind. Okay, that everybody agrees, right? Tat uparaga apekshitvate chittasya vastu jnata ajnatam. Number 17. Sada jnataha chitta vrittayaha tat prabhoho purushasya aparinamitvat. Very important. So, if the object really changes depending upon the mood of the mind, what is the constant thing here? Right? Next question comes, isn't it? For a change, for any change, as you know scientifically, if something changes, that changes in relation to something else. So the base that you're comparing with has to be constant, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So what is that constant thing? So that is how beautifully it goes, right? So sada jnataha chitta vrittayaha tat prabhoho purushasya aparinamitvat. Okay? Aparinamitvat means something that is unchangeable. Parinamam, changing. Aparinamitvat is something that does not change, changeless, unchangeable. Tat prabhoho. See, is that the leader of that? The prabho means the leader. The one that, another way to look at it is Even when things change, there is an effulgence of change, isn't it? We perceive that there is a change. There is a change that is obvious to us, even in our own mind, isn't it? So that is effulgent, isn't it? That is shining. The change itself is shining. That is prabhoho. So what is it that is shining there? That shining, that effulgence is always constant. That prabhoho. The bha means always, remember, bha. When the word bha comes, the beautiful in Sanskrit is that is that effulgence. So put it crudely. What is it that's shining everywhere? You think Bhagavan is not there. Bhagavan is shining all the time. That's why you use the word Bhagavan. Bha. Okay? So, that's the prabhoho. What is that effulgence? What is that thing? That is, to that Purushaha, we can go to the root word of, etymologically what Purusha means. Purusha means one resident in the Puru. Puru means embodiment. Okay? Puru also means city, village and all that, right? Raghavendrapuram, we say like that. That the word comes from that, the Puram. Puram means it's a place, right? So the embodiment, right? Place. So, and Purushaha is the one who is resident in the Puru. That's why Tripura Samhari and all that we say, right? So, Pura means the resident, the place. Purusha is resident. Kshetrajna. So, Purushaha. So, Tat Prabhoho, that's the leader, the effulgence in that who is resident in that perception that you have, which is constantly changing depending upon the mood of your mind, that Purusha is aparinamitvat. That effulgence does not change. It changes. That entity is unchangeable. It makes sense? How clearly and bit by bit he is taking us. Okay? Sada jnataha chittavrittayaha tat prabhoho purushasya aparinamitvat. Number 18. Na tat swambhasam drusyatvat. Na tat swambhasam drusyatvat. If the change is effulgent, somebody there? Hey. Come. Oh, Siddhi? Yes. Oh, please come, Karna. Yeah. So, when we say the change, now you all agree that we perceive the change also. And that means that is something effulgent, to put it in crude English, that is bhasam, that prakasam, right? Right? So, does this mean that mind is now shining? That question comes. All the various things that goes through. So it says, no, tat, that, swambhasam, it does not shine by itself. Na swambhasam. Okay? Drusyatvate, the mind itself is an object of perception. Drusyatvate. You understand? The effulgence perceives the mind and the changes, and that effulgence is within you, within I, within me. Okay? That is a constant one. So, na tat swambhasam drusyatvat. Number 19. Eka samaye cha ubhaya anavadharanam. Eka samaye cha ubhaya anavadharanam. Eka samaya, what we call as simultaneously, right? Bhagavan does infinite things at the same time. There's no sequence there. It's simultaneous things, right? So, eka samaya, at the same time, cha and ubhaya anavadharanam. Now, ubhaya means to, anavadharanam means to perceive, to dharana means to support. To put it very etymologically, it means the perception itself is supported by something, isn't it? You agree? That's a precise way of saying that. Okay? So, anavadharanam, perceiving, ubhaya, both, eka samaye, simultaneously. What are the two that is being perceived simultaneously? Next question comes. right? All of us do this. So, the Ubhaya, Anavadharanam. Anavadharana means not possible. It's the opposite of it. Anavava. The word anava comes there, right? So what cannot be done simultaneously, what two things cannot be done simultaneously at the same time, right? Because the mind, now you're talking about mind now. Tat means here the mind. And it cannot perceive the object and the subject at the same time. Now, we're all focused on whatever we perceive, and this is what it is. The moment we think it is a perceiver in me, the indweller in me is perceiving that, at that moment, do I perceive the object? It is not possible. That's what he's saying. The object and the subject cannot be perceived by the mind at the same time. Okay? Agree? Ekasamaye cha ubhaya anavadharanam. Okay? Number 20. Chittansaha drusye buddhi bhedaha rati prasangaha smruti sankaraha cha. Chittantaha drusye buddhehe rati prasangaha smruti sankaraha cha. Chittantara drusye buddhi veda rati prasanga smruti sankarascha. Okay, that's clear? Now, Chittantaha drusye buddhehe rati prasangaha smruti sankarascha. Now, if I say that he is now proving this scientifically, very beautifully. Okay, as I told you, it's a phenomenal, precise exposition that he gives step by step. Okay, Chittantaha, Chitta Antaha. Any thought that comes to me, if I go back, where did that thought come from? That means the one mind is perceiving this thought. Okay, then where that thing came from? That means another mind is perceiving that other thought. So if I keep on going backwards, Chittantaha and Drusye, if I want to perceive it that way, then obviously the moment I mentioned that, some of you probably in your mind immediately, how is it possible I have only one mind and one thought, and then I go back to find out where the thought came from, and he's saying another mind perceived it. How is it possible? I have only one mind. Right? We all probably thought about it. So that's exactly what the Rishi says. If I start, the way he started is, anything that you perceive depends upon the mind. And it is not, and what you perceive does not depend upon one mind. He's also mentioned that. Right? Correct. So now if I go back to if I think of something and say where that thought came from, then I have to perceive something else. That must belong to some other mind. Right? So if I were to think along those lines, then I have to agree, or I have to postulate, I have to hypothesize, right, that there are infinite minds. Isn't it? And that is not the case. Okay? The moment I do that, I have infinite mind. Immediately you're all confused now. The moment I put forward, you're all confused. It doesn't make sense. That's exactly what he says. So buddhi buddhehe rati prasangaha, we come to that. Smruti sankarascha. Smruti means my memory, my mind, what I'm able to think and keep. Sankarascha, confusion comes. The moment I think there has got to be infinite minds, it causes confusion to my memory. Isn't it? So that's what he says. So it cannot be infinite minds. You understand? So, and he's now, what is reflected? Basically, there's one constant thing. Mind is constantly changing, right? We talk about that in a minute. Buddhi buddhehe rati prasangaha. Buddhi buddhehe. That means this process of using, in this case, it doesn't mean discrimination. It talks about an intelligence and understanding of this thought. Okay, now I want a Mercedes Benz. Let's say that thought is there. See, where did that thought come from? Oh, because, see, there are buddhi, buddhehe. From there I go to the previous thought, right? and then because I saw somebody else have it. Okay, so why is it important to me that somebody else have it, I should have? Like if you keep thinking like that, each one is a different entity by itself. Buddhi buddhehe. Rati prasangaha. Rati means attachment. So when one thought and the origin of that thought and the origin of that thought get attached to each other, prasangaha, what is coming out, right? Prasangaha. That then if you do like that, smruti sankaraha cha, your memory gets confused. That's what he says. Understand? Chittantah dristye buddhi buddhehe rati prasangaha smruti sankaraha cha. Number 21. Chittehe prati sankramayaha tat akara pathau swabuddhi samvedanam. Chittehe prati sankramayaha tat akara pathau swabuddhi samvedanam. Samvedanam means something making itself known. To put it in crude English, you become aware of it. Samvedanam. Okay? See how beautiful it is. Vedanam, yenda vedanam, whatever we say in Tamil. Yeah. See, that's how beautifully it has become in colloquial Tamil. Vedana means difficulty, misery. So when you become aware of the various things in the world, what does it do?
It causes the misery.
It causes only misery. And how beautifully Sanskrit is. Samvedanam, they make itself known. So for a jnani, for a yogi, is he aware of everything? No, he is aware of Bhagavan only. Okay, so samvedanam. So to make itself known, that's what it meaning. Okay. Now chittehe for the mind, prati sankramayaha. When you embark on this journey, what is it? How this perception thing takes place? If I'm perceiving something that is not dependent on my perception of it, that first thing you agree. And then if I perceive something, how did I perceive it? Where did it come from? And then you keep on going on that, your memory gets confused. You become confused actually, right? It doesn't take you anywhere. So what is exactly happening here? Chitte, for this mind, prati sankramayaha. When you inquire this way, this process of inquiry comes to an end. Prati sankramayaha. So it cannot be the mind. It cannot be infinite minds. It has to be something else. Isn't it? So prati sankramayaha. So this process, if you look at it, as they say, Satyanveshanam, when you really take digging for truth, and go that way, then it comes to an end. And what is the end? Prati sankramayaha tad akara pattau. Tad, whatever is happening, akara pattau. Now, pattau. The word patti, that's it there, very important. Okay? And it is the first ta, not the third ta, not the second ta, okay? And pattau. Okay? And you can see that in the last mantra in second Anuvakam, in Rudra. It will be there. That word will be there. Pattau. Since you love Rudram, so I'm sharing that to you. There it means soldiers. Okay, it also means patti, means soldiers. Patti also means leader. Here, the meaning is leader. Akara pattau. In all this changing confluence of things that really drives me crazy if I start analyzing that way, Sankara has another confusion is crazy. You become confused, really, right? So, in all that, the leader of that, the akara, one who does not do anything, actionless. The leader who is present, swabuddhi samvedanam. Then if you follow it properly and discriminate, here swabuddhi means discrimination. Right? You discriminate the changing from the changeless. There has got to be some changeless thing, entity there. That samvedanam, will start manifesting itself. That's all it means. It is very simple. Even we all know, in so many things we go through, all have 1 second, fraction of a second, we take away from all this noise and challenges and difficulties and confusion we all have. What is it? Who's looking at all this? You take a witness attitude, immediately that samvedanam, that entity starts manifesting itself. And what did I do? I just used my buddhi to say, who is this constant here? Who is actually looking? Who is the witness here? Right? That's all I did. Immediately samvedanam comes. It starts manifesting itself. You agree? It's a thing that you can all verify, validate the truth. Okay? Chittehe prati sankramayaha tat akara pattau, because that entity, that witness that we have, that entity doesn't do anything. The conscience is always there, right from the time I was very small child to as you grow older, that feeling of that awareness, I am, is constant. My body may change, right? But that feeling is constant. And it doesn't do anything. And that is the leader. We know that is guiding. That's samvedanam. Okay? So, chittehe prati sankramayaha tat akara pattau swabuddhi samvedanam. 22. Drishta drisya uparaktam chittam sarva artham. Drishta drisyoparaktam chittam sarva artham. Right? Drishta drisyoho uparaktam drisya uparaktam chittam sarva artham. Now, drishta drisyo, drishta person, the perceiver. Drisya, what is being perceived. Okay? And chittam, the in our mind. Okay? So why is it happening like that? Because there is a perceiver and there is a perception, the object perceived, right? Yeah. And there is a process of perception. That's the three things are there. And that uparaktam, that eclipses, that hides. If I look at a Mercedes Benz, immediately I am looking at Mercedes Benz, the sarva artham, sarva for all, artham, what is the essence of everything? That essence of everything gets eclipsed in the mind by the perceiver and the object of perception. Okay? Clear? Yeah. Drishta drisya uparaktam chittam sarvartham. Number 23. Tat asankyeya vasanabhihi chitram api parartham samhrutya karitvat. Tat asankyeya tat asankyeya vasanabhihi chitram api parartham samhrutya karitvat. Asankyeya means incalculable. Okay? It's a measuring thing. 1, 2, 3. You keep on going. How far can you go? Incalculable. Asankyeya. Okay. That. Okay. Now, what is that? You're still talking about chittam here. Okay. Remember. And so mind has infinite, numerous, incalculable. What does it have? Vasanabhihi chitram api. Vasana, everybody knows. Okay. It's really Vasana. Really, truly speaking, it is really the fragrance. Okay, Vasana means fragrance. But here the fragrance of the mind, and we call it that inherent tendencies and all that, right? But actually, that if your mind is good, it emits good fragrance only. But because we have mixed tendencies, all the things come, right? So Vasana, whatever the residual unfulfilled desires are. Okay, to put it in another way. The problem with this, please remember this, something I learned from Swami was, Bhagavan is Varadaya Namaha. we say that Varada. We only call him Varada. I mean, he gives all. It's all our appellation to him, right? Which is nothing wrong in that. He loves it. When we pray to him sincerely, he loves. He doesn't ask for our prayer, but when we look to him, he is very happy. And so Varada means one who fulfills, grants all your desires, right? Now, what happens? Let us say if I have 1 million desires in this, which is probably the desire that I have in 1 hour, I don't know, but whatever. Let us say as an example, right? And out of which, let us say 900,000 gets fulfilled before I pass away. What happens to the remaining 100,000? Bhagavan has to do his job. He will have to fulfill. So that is my mind. Mind is nothing but a bundle of desires. So it is still carrying this 100,000 desires there. So it takes another body. Okay? So it keeps on going. Problem is desires multiply and there doesn't seem to be any end. Yeah. Right? So that is what we call as vasana. Okay? Basically, the residual unfulfilled desires, and every desire has a certain time. The gunas are exactly the same; they don't change. Sattvic gunam is what it is, rajasic is what it is, tamasic is what it is. The combination of it changes, right? And if I do more good things, then I become more sattvic. Then I become closer to Bhagavan. Simple, right? So, vasanaha. Chitram api. Chitram means immediately does not mean painting. It is a painting. Chitragupta, we say, he does not fit, he doesn't have a big ledger and he's writing every minute. No, it is not. He's not like a accountant that way. He's actually a most advanced videographer. It's like a three-dimensional. You want to call it that way. Because everything we do is a beautiful movie that is being produced. Not even one fraction of a second gets missed. Okay, the continuous thing goes on. So everything we have, if you look at in our mind, is only a chitram. If I think of something, it becomes a nice picture, isn't it? Right? So there is a rumam, there is rupam and a namam too, right? So it's a beautiful. Whatever you think of, there is a picture there. So vasanaha, unfulfilled desires, right? And all the residual images that we carry. And how many of them are there? Asankyeya, innumerable. Yeah. That mind, with all that, okay, then the question comes, what is this mind doing with all this vasanas and all the chitram going around and changing so many things? Parartham, para, outside, something else, artham, essence. It is doing all this to satisfy, to serve something else. You understand? That's a very beautiful thing, remember. When you desire something, you're not desiring it for you. The problem is, our problem comes in, there is nothing wrong with desire. Kamaha, kamakrit, kantaha, it says in Sahasranamam. So Bhagavan is the form of desire, kamaha. So nothing wrong in desire. The desire comes in when we want to acquire it. Acquisitive desire is where the problem is. I want it for me. I want it for my children. This problem comes in, right? So, whereas the desire, Swami, yes, it's so beautiful you have given. I enjoy it on your behalf. How beautiful you are. The same desire, you kind of divert it to Bhagavan, then there is no problem. That is the parartham, that is the meaning of why the mind is going through all this. That we have to understand. Instead of, do you understand? Parartham, it is, all this is taking place to serve something else. Mat karmakut, mat paramo, mat bhaktaha. We have seen this several times. That is what we must remember. So the mind going through all this is fine, but parartham. It is doing all this to serve for the purpose of serving something else. And that is not an acquisitive desire, but a sacrificial desire. That is where yajnam comes. Do you understand? That is the meaning of sarvam. We say Narayana, Kayana Vacha, we say, Narayane te samarpayami and all the samarpa. That the sacrificial thing must come for everything. Para artham. Samhritya. Beautiful. Para artham samhritya. The verb is samhritya. Samhritya means to drawn towards. Okay? What does a magnet do? Magnet draws the iron filing towards it. What does a fire do? A fire draws the firefly towards it, doesn't it? And a beautiful flower draws a bee towards it. So it's a beautiful. We are all drawn towards what we call the earth, this gravity, right? We are all drawn towards each other actually. Like there is a tremendous attraction between us. The drawing samhritya para artham. All this mind is doing all this because it is drawn to serve para, the sacred, the supreme. Okay, artham. That is the meaning of it. That's the essence of it. Karitvat. That's why the mind does all this. Samhritya karitvat. Okay, para artham. Karitvat means, you know very well, karyam means we know immediately action, right? Kara means to do, we know that. Karitvat is a beautiful thing. That is an instrument, a tool, most fit tool. You know, if I give you a blunt knife, it's not good. The knife has to be sharp, isn't it? Then it becomes a fit tool to do something. Karitvat is the mind, tat, the mind. It's a tool. It's a fit tool, a tool that has been given. That means the mind is the greatest gift we have. Greatest gift. It's a very highly fit tool. I'm using it wrongly. Understand, it is samhritya para artham. To do that, it is a tool that has been given to you. Even though it may have asankye vasanaha, asankye chitram, don't worry about that. That's all in the past. Let us not dwell in it. Right now, all of us are carrying that baggage. Don't worry. Don't get disheartened. Understand, it is the most fit tool, most powerful tool, okay, that has been given for samhritya para artham. Okay? Tat asankyeya vasanabhihi chitram api parartham samhritya karitvate. Number 24. Vishesha darsina atmabhava bhavana nivrittihi. Vishesha darsina atmabhava bhavana nivrittihi. Now, atmabhava, the moment I start looking at this way, then I start looking into the indweller. Atmabhava, the moment I start going that way and doing the yoga process, that dharanam, dhyanam, and samadhi that Rishi has described to us earlier, and I get the Atmabhavam, and what do I have? Vishesha darshanam. Isn't it? Even the turning the mind inwards itself is a Vishesha darshanam. Then embracing Bhagavan is, that darshanam cannot be put in words, right? So the person who uses the buddhi, the discrimination, and say turning inward, even that Purusha, to him, bhavana nivrittihi. Bhavana means the various experiences we have, the ups and downs in life we have in our mind, nivrittihi, that becomes extinct. So the person, you just use your discrimination and go inward to get Atma Bhavam. Then, the moment you do that, guaranteed, it's 100% guaranteed, you will not consider your mind to be the Atma. Mind is not the Atma. It will become crystal clear. The moment you become crystal clear, what a degree of freedom you have. Right? Then it's a question of controlling and managing the mind, right? And bringing it under your control, rather than you being under its control, right? Because you're looking at Atman. The same thing is taught in second adhyayana of Bhagavad Gita also. Okay? So, Vishesha darsina atmabhava bhavana nivrittihi. 25. Tada, at that time, okay, Viveka Nimnam Kaivalya Pragabhava Chittam. Beautiful. Okay. Now, the Vivekam means discrimination is the way to say. Okay, discrimination means we do discrimination all the time. Even while driving, we know it's a red light, a green light, a left line, a right lane, so many things we discriminate all the time. Those are all petty things. A child, a man, a woman, a lady, a old man, whatever we discriminate, a house versus a river, so many things we discriminate, right? But those are all that's not the discrimination he's talking about. Discrimination that Vivekam means the discrimination between the constant thing among all the changes, the permanent thing among all the temporary. We all know Jagat. We all know the meaning of Jagat, right? We all know everything is temporary. But what is so amazing, Sankaracharya or somebody said, I forget who, is that we all come across people who pass away. We all know, our relatives, friends, and who are no more. But we think we are going to be there forever. This is, I think, in Bhagavan, I think it comes, whatever, somewhere. This is the beauty. This is the phenomenal thing that is taking place. And the person who is causing this Maya, how powerful he must be. Huh? Right? Suppose if I look to that person, then what do I have to worry about? That is Vivekam. You understand? So how I am fooling, I'm being fooled all the time. We use the word Maya. I use the word differently. Swami plays hide and seek. It's a beautiful game. So we all play hide and seek with our children, but we are actually adults supposed to be grown-ups, right? And children also play hide and seek among themselves. He's playing hide and seek only. Okay, it's a phenomenal game. But we are looking for him, and same way a child goes to different places where the other person is not hiding. We all look for him in so many places, and he's not there. Even though he's present there, we look at him the wrong way, right? So we try to look at him with our eyes closed, basically. The heart should be open. Vivekam, the discrimination between the permanent thing, among permanence, among all the temporary, the constancy among all the changes, which is nothing but, as Swami told me, is nothing but, became very clear, is nothing but prema. Prema is a constancy in everything. And there is nothing that is more powerful than prema. Swami said once, we may give Sriman Narayana with a chakram and gadai and shankhi and bow and arrow and all these things. He says, no, I have no weapons, he says. Bhagavan has no weapons. The only thing I have is prema. And there is nothing more powerful than prema. That is why Agastya had to come down to remind Rama, hey, listen, he is so full of prema swarupa, hey, you got a job to do, you come here. That is how Aditya Hridayam came. Otherwise, you think Rama needs to be reminded? It's an exposition for us, the power of prema. Okay? That's the only, if you want to call it a weapon, it's not even a weapon, but there is nothing more powerful than that. So, that is the constancy in everything. Okay? Vivekam. So, tada viveka nimnam. Through that, nimnam means attain liberation. Kaivalya pragabhava. 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 Bhava means, experience. Pragabhava, to going towards, to getting inclined towards. Like a way a river is flowing towards the sea, that is pragabhavam. We say prabhavam is another word we use, right? So, what causes the river to go to the sea? It is inclined towards that. That's a natural inclination, isn't it? Kaivalyam, the liberation. That's Vivekam. Tada, at that time, Vivekanimna, through the discrimination, through the buddhi, Vivekam, Kaivalya, Pragabhava, Chittam, the mind actually ceases to be. The mind has to turn. It's like a lock, key, Turn this way, then become Pragabhavam for Kaivalyam. You understand? Tada, Vivekanimnam, Kaivalya, Pragabhava, Chittam. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om